Good afternoon, all. I am honestly somewhere between fear and excitement after that morning session. That was a lot of fun. So, quick show of hands. How many people are in sales? In sales? You guys are all in sales? Excellent. Wow. And then I guess the rest are in marketing and other areas. So, I would hope. But one of the things when I talk to marketers about, they always say they're not in sales. I disagree. We're all in sales. I'm going to try to sell you something today. I'm going to try to sell you on what we've done to be successful with Showpad. So even though I'm in marketing, there's definitely a lot of sales to what I have to do. One of the things I just want to kick this off with, what do we want to accomplish today? Well, I hope you can understand some of the complexity we were challenged with at Optiv and everything we have to manage for our really broad portfolio. I'll share with you some things that worked in our journey. We'll look at some numbers. We always like to have some proof points. And again, end the session with collaboration and discussion. So please feel free to hit me up directly or LinkedIn or through the Showpad event application. Really love to connect with other Showpad users. So a little bit about Optiv. How many people have heard of Optiv before? This is my market research. Got one here, got one here. Yeah, you should have heard of Optiv. One of our partners is here. So we're the biggest company nobody's ever heard of. We have about $2.4 billion in sales, serving about 7,600 customers. We have 200 client managers. That's our sales reps that carry quota. About 200 pre-sales engineers as well. So very big company, a lot of things that we do. Primarily focused in North America, but looking to expand globally very, very shortly. So for Optiv, it's everything information security, and I'll talk to you about that a little bit. I'm not going to get really technical on the information security side, just enough to show you what exactly we're trying to sell, and then how do we use Showpad and other sales enablement techniques to take that to market. So that challenge, a common theme we've seen today and yesterday, is this digital transformation of buyers today. They're self-service. They go out on their own to search, forums, websites, Google, whatever, talk to friends and family, whatever emails they get in advertising, to self-select solutions before they engage somebody on the sales side. And when we think about the sales funnel, and marketers love the sales funnel because we want everybody to come in top of funnel with our brand, track marketing qualified leads, conversion to sales qualified leads, and it's a beautiful thing. It just doesn't happen that way. Buyers are 57% through this journey before they engage sales, and they just want sales for a quote, a discount, a purchase order, or handle all the legal contracts. I mean, this is true of me when I was looking for solutions to enable our field sales team. I started searching, uncovered Showpad amongst many others. One of the things that set Showpad across is they really got to know me. They got to know the company, the challenges, and what we were trying to do. So we were able to bring that back up. They did a lot of discovery. We talked requirements. We talked HTML5, and I'll share some of those stories as well. But I always like to think of this because I'm a buyer. I buy a lot of products and services to do our activities for marketing and enablement. And so the reps, to me, the ones that are really successful are what they call the challenger sales rep. CEB has done a lot of research. These are the ones that bring insight. They challenge thinking. They challenge convention. They're kind of that crazy customer that was talked about in the previous session. They're not the ones that traditionally have been successful as a core performer, that they build relationships or solve problems or hard workers, or they're a lone wolf. That's a traditional sales model that's really going away. You've got to have some insight. You've got to be able to bring something to the table to buyers that get inundated with emails and advertisements. So that insight has to come from somewhere. And commonly it comes from things like experiences and dialogues. Again, something we'll be talking about. So how did I get into this? How did I get into sales enablement and figure out how to solve this problem? Again, my background did not train me for this. I'm an engineer. All I know how to do is understand problems, frame a problem, and solve it. So when I looked at this problem of sales and sales enablement and marketing, I did what any good engineer would do, field research. So like Diane Fossey going out and studying the gorillas, I went out to study our sales reps. Yeah, they would tell me what they need. They need the new marketing slick. They need something great. But getting out in the field and meeting with people and going on sales calls, I learned so much from that. From watching how they behave, what they do, what they think they know, what they actually should know, and trying to fill that gap. And I always try to anticipate and be one step ahead, because a great phrase somebody told me one time, nothing good happens in the office. You got to get out and meet with your constituents, meet with your sales team, meet with your clients. So now let's talk a little bit about Optiv and what I learned from all this. So this is the information security marketplace right now. These are all the different products and services that our buyers have to think about to protect endpoints, data, networks, look at risk assessments, stop hackers, stop the threats, all of these things. It's massively complicated. And if we just look at one little area, we're going to talk about endpoint security just a little bit. These are the things that go on your laptops to protect your laptops and desktops. These are all the different options that are out there. How does somebody choose? Our clients are asking us these questions all day long. Does it work? What does it claim to do? How much does it cost? What does it displace? Why do I really need to buy this? And we need to train our reps to have a conversation to say, I get you want one of these things, but what is it you're really trying to solve for? What value are you trying to drive by purchasing yet another endpoint solution? And so tools like Showpad help us solve that. Step one, these are all our partners that we have inside of Showpad. I'll let this go for a minute. So hopefully saw info blocks up there. So a lot of our partners, I think we've got about 10 partners now that are Showpad customers because they've seen the success we've had with the tool. Because it's our job in marketing to make sure sales never has to go look for this information. They click a button, it's right there in Showpad. We've got all the latest information on the latest technology, the latest patch or feature, because our clients want an answer immediately. Oftentimes they've got the board breathing down their neck because there is a latest breach. Equifax or the SEC or anything like that, and they've got to have quick answers. And we've got to have correct answers. We've got to have the right answers for the right solution at the right time. And so when you think about Optiv and all those different things that we bring to bear, we're a little bit like a grocery store. Not the ones that Amazon are going to take out, of course, but everything that we do, we have to organize it in such a way that it's easy to find. We got to make sure that we position the solutions relative to value, that we go out and promote certain things, that we've got the right solutions assembled, that we're looking at the ones with the greatest brand, and they're recognizable. And then start doing market intelligence and gathering insight for all the campaigns and events that bring people to our virtual storefront, which is a sales rep, and then understand what are the different things they should buy. So with all those things, again, so much in information security, what to buy, where do you start? We were a little bit like a grocery store in that grocery stores, they have the strategy that, oops, my text didn't come up there. One moment here. There we go. So, grocery store strategy. People need food. They like good food from a single place, so just have a lot of food. Put it on the storefront and organize it. And we kind of did the same thing initially. People need a lot of security. Let's get all the content in a single place and have all this security, and we're just going to be successful, right? Well, it's not really an effective strategy. Because even though we have all this security to sell, so many of our sellers, they don't know it all. Our clients don't know it all. So how do we connect the dots when this market changes every week? There's some new solution, new threat, new vulnerability. So we have to start segmenting and thinking about our clients. Now, the successful grocery stores, as Stephen talked about in his previous session, they're going to be the ones that know a lot about their clients. And we're trying to understand our clients in the same way. Our clients in security, they have different vertical needs, healthcare, financial. They have different needs based on maturity. How big are they and what kind of budget do they have? What kind of solutions do they need? Back to that domain map of all the different things we could assemble. What kind of programs do they need? Because nobody ever stops doing security. You're always implementing new technologies, training new people, bringing on new processes, outsourcing functions. And then some people just need a turnkey solution because they've got a really quick, immediate threat that they've got to deal with. And so they're looking for us to solve for that. And so when we think about enablement and marketing, they're two sides of the same coin for me. I've got this definition I've played with for a while. The really enablement is about how do you reach prospects and clients at impactful moments that most influence their decision. And that's what we're going to talk about as I start to get to our solution with Showpad. Because that reach, you've got to have that reach in a very personal way. And I really like Showpad because it creates a very intimate conversation. It's somebody showing you something, letting you interact with it, and it can be real time. It's not somebody preparing 30 slides to say, let me talk all about us, and then we'll talk about you at slide 20. So you get that reach. You get to be impactful because you get to guide the customer down to the right solution that they need at the right time, and then influence that decision. Said another way, always be closing, but the influence makes a big difference for us because we do want to make sure they're influenced to come to Optiv as a trusted provider to get the right things at the right time for their security program. Our strategy is all about building a relationship with the client and continuing to sell them the things they need for their security program. We don't just sell them one or two things. We have about a 92% return business for a lot of our clients. Once they buy something from us, they come back and buy something else. So what were some of the solutions we looked at? Well, we talked about sales playbooks. How many people recognize this slide here? This is what I get being an American going into Europe. So this is from a American football game, a very old one for the Nintendo system. That very simple very simple plays back in the day. When you play this game, you got 2 run plays, 2 pass plays to move the football down the field. And selling security was kind of similar to that. People just needed antivirus, firewall, email security, and web security. So in the past, security, we were able to sell that because nobody had that, and it was very simple. Just get one of these 4. We'll run one, then run the other, then run the other, and do the 4th. But the future is something like this. It's very complicated. You have all these different scenarios you have to take into play. Like I said before about the vertical solutions, what kind of maturity do people have? What do they have in their environment today? What are they trained for today? And so that path to success, again, this fits 2 models. This was my path to success, but also what we're teaching our sales team. They've got to be able to research what the client needs, teach the client some information they didn't know, tailor that solution specifically to the client, and then build that trust. And so we started with Showpad to be that single source of information. How do we replace email, cloud file sharing, tribal knowledge, all these different places for information that so disparate, but when the products always change every week, it's really hard for a rep to keep up with. And we wanted to create those compelling tools to collaborate, monitor, and manage. We had to find the early adopters. That was my other success. Find those people that really wanted a solution like this to solve the problem of taking time to find all the content. And really just getting out in the field, for me being successful, being confident to go meet with sales, talk about their problems, how they should sell, but also with our clients, for them to get out in the field, start talking to their clients in a way. As an information security expert and you're a sales rep, there's a gap of knowledge there that you're never going to bridge. But can you know just enough with a tool like Showpad to guide them to some of those solutions? Can you sound credible, have the right information, have the right insight? And that we had to ensure marketing is part of the problem and the solution. So for marketing, our challenge is marketing always has one-way conversations. We create a PowerPoint, we create some PDF, we put it on the website. We can track clicks and links and sometimes get an email back, but generally it's a one-way conversation. Sales has that 2-way conversation where they can get dialogue and interaction and create a really good experience. So where we started with Optiv, and I was talking to Louis the other day about the story, where we're at today is what we called our security program map. This is, we just built this on experiences. Last year with Julian's help at Hiccup, we had a version of this in Hiccup, but before that, we were creating this in PowerPoint and using an HTML conversion tool to make it work with Showpad. And I have a little bit of a history of being bleeding edge with Showpad. When we first signed up, Jessica, we were talking the other day, we were in the sales process, she sets a demo account up. I was creating all these HTML5 apps, uploading them to Showpad and saying, hey, how do I do this, how do I do that? And she had to get me right in touch with Louis, and we started strategizing and talking about the things we wanted to achieve. And that's what sold me on Showpad right away. And there was another great feature the Showpad team implemented because we had so many users and so much content. We have about 12 gigabytes of content, about 8,000 pieces. Anytime we have people do a sync, there was a little bit of a delay. Well, when we had 2 companies merged to form Optiv, we had 450 people all hitting sync to download 7 gigs of content all at once. And so it kind of broke some of the caching that Showpad had, so they created a script to test that for us called the Russell script. So I was going to get a picture of it with me and the script in the background, but if you don't know Bash and shell scripting, it's not very entertaining. I do. I'm a geek, so. But back to experiences, this is how we can organize our solutions, and we can have some of those tailored conversations. And back to my example before, where we came up with this in marketing, this wasn't just some cool slick, and we decided this is a neat way to visualize security. I got a lot of these ideas talking to our sales engineers, seeing how they talk to clients and how they do a whiteboard, because they've been in security for 15, 20 years, and they have all this stuff in their environment today, so they know how to talk about security. And so now what we've started to do is understand who we talk to and what ways we can visualize that and create an experience on. So all these different buyers, we've got an economic buyer who's considering the Cyber Fusion Center as a way to save cost to run security. And this is one of the visual ways that our sales engineers there like to talk about that solution. If we're talking to somebody in security operations, this guy's very technical. He wants speeds and feeds. We need a visual way like this that you can click and drill down and get into very discrete elements and talk to a highly technical and very intimidating person in a credible way if you're a sales rep and not a sophisticated sales engineer. And again, it's about providing that insight and information and trust to different audiences. And then our CIO wants a higher level conversation about identity. How do we guide to all the different solutions there in identity when he knows he needs to handle single sign-on and governance and access management, all these other things? Again, if you're a sales rep at Optiv, at some point your head is spinning. How do I know all this stuff? How do I keep track of everything? Well, I have to. It's my job in marketing to know the portfolio. How do we position it? Who do we position it to? And I have specialists on my team. But for us, we've got to simplify it for a sales rep that isn't a technical specialist in information security. So we create these experiences to make sure that they can learn as they go, or turn it right over to a client, and the client can go into these and say, you know what, I never thought about the problem that way. I've never thought about a solution that way. I don't need one product, I need 10. Let me buy one now, 2 next month, 3 in 6 months, 5 a year from now. Now that sales manager is excited because that's one of the greatest forecasts they'll ever see. There's always challenges with forecasting, of course. So let's talk about a little bit about Optiv in some of our growth through the years. You know, we started as Accuvant with about 346 total users. 85% of all the usage at that time was using tablets. You know, we made a promise we wanted to get these tablets out, get all the content on the tablets. And we were merging HTML5 tools at the time. We used PowerPoint and this plugin called iSpring that lets you convert anything in PowerPoint to an interactive HTML tool. We launched actually with Showpad in 2013, but this was our sales kickoff in 2014. 2015, at the sales kickoff, when Accuvant and Fishnet, 2 companies, merged to form Optiv, we had 760 users. And that's where we had everybody the night of kickoff. They got their tablets that day, tried to sync, and we kind of broke some things there. But that was our peak of tablet usage. We were about 90% on the tablet, and HTML5 tools started to become the standard. I think we had something about 50 tools at the time in HTML5. And then today, you know, we have over 1,000 users. Interestingly, 20% of the usage is tablet and 10% is mobile, and we have many more guided selling tools coming. We're looking to really blow up how we do experiences. I showed you some of those examples, and when I start showing those to some of the other information security experts within our company, they start tossing me other ideas. So I already have a queue of about 40 or 50 things we've got to go vet through to see what do we build and what's going to be most impactful to sell the most things that we can take to market. So it's really fun with this job because I'm constantly learning, constantly trying to do something new and more to keep on the bleeding edge. One side note before I go on to the next slide, we haven't seen tablet usage decline necessarily. We've just seen people that have used the tablet somewhat maintain their usage, but then increase because now that they have web access and mobile access, they're hitting the same content in different ways. So it's very interesting, especially when you start looking at some of the data and understanding some of the sales cycles. And this is where I really love Showpad. And I get a lot of insight that I can share with our sales management, sales leadership to understand we really hit peak usage right at our sales kickoff. Every time we hit end of quarter, for a week or two, there's always a decline in usage. And of course, those are the times my CFO is asking about usage, saying, do people really use Showpad? Why are they not using it this quarter? Well, they're trying to close out all their deals. They're in the middle of closing, or at the end of closing, they're not at the beginning of selling. Of course, major holidays, you know, the reps are taking off at end of quarter or some of the holidays. And again, these are just the sessions in red. User activity, the number of users in the system is fairly consistent. Some of the other things I like to do is pull all the data in pivot tables and start looking at what do we see by content by device, how people are accessing by smartphone, tablet, and browser. And I'm able to show this to our CFO and our head of sales that we have a lot of reps that come on the system on Sunday night, learning, understanding, trying to prepare for the week, trying to see what's new. We publish our newsletter on Monday to kind of refresh everybody. So if you want to be an early riser and start on Sunday, you can. We also look at user sessions by day of the week. Again, we see kind of the same curve. Quite a bit of activity Monday through Friday in the week, but there's still people on there trying to learn, trying to prepare. And again, something to think about, we were really successful by just slicing 2 different channels in Showpad, one for selling, one for learning. The selling side, show everything in there to a client. There's nothing to hide. And on the learn side, keep that confidential. That's battle cards, training, other information. We don't want to get out. We don't want anybody to share that with a client or show it to a client. So with all the success, it's great for me to talk about it, but back to getting in the field, again, why I love getting in the field, don't just take my word for it. So talk about a couple of success stories. This is one of my favorite ones. We had an Optiv sales rep, that's Annie, on the left there with the iPad. She was late stage qualifying Aruba. It's a wireless solution, and she had her Aruba partner, again, we're a reseller, so we're there with Aruba selling. Aruba had one sales rep and 2 sales engineers in the room. And the client asked the question, what's the temperature range of your access points? I want to make sure that they can withstand in the Texas heat. And Aruba, their sales rep and the 2 SEs started taking notes. Yeah, we'll get back to you. We've got some data sheets. We'll get back to the hotel, log onto the VPN, log onto onto our intranet site, get those data sheets and email them to you. Take about 30 minutes to an hour or two. Annie pulled out Showpad right there and said, I've got these Aruba data sheets. Let me show you right now. I'll send those right to you, so you've got them. The Aruba reps were blown away. Aruba's sales manager of the region called my boss and said, I want that solution, because I don't want our sales reps to not be as knowledgeable as Optiv sales reps, because that's Aruba's product. My other favorite story is Kevin O'Connor. Kevin was our VP of sales in the East, and he was meeting with Symantec, a very big client I'm sure you're aware of, or a big partner of ours I'm sure you're aware of. So he had this meeting with Symantec, and all the Symantec execs were in the room. You had the head of sales, 4 sales VPs, head of marketing, a couple channel marketing people, and they're talking about strategy. And Kevin said, let me show you what Optiv does, how we represent Symantec to our clients, and how we sell Symantec. And he brings up Showpad and brings up a strategy deck for Symantec, for different solutions they have, that was completely rebranded and had new products in there that nobody in the room had seen from Symantec. Symantec's head of sales turned to his marketing guy and said, where did these slides come from? Why does he have them and I don't? But this is what I want for Optiv. This is what I want for our sales reps, that we know more about the market. We know more about the solutions than even our best partners. And it's not to show them up. It's to make sure that we are selling. We're removing friction. We're selling as effectively as possible. And so that phase 1, the guided selling, or phase 1 of organizing all the content, was an easy way to start. But this guided selling, the interactive selling, that's really what our clients want to see. And so where are we going from here? We're looking to launch about 3 to 5 experiences by June of 2018, is the goal I've put on the team. So we want to make sure that these are the ones that resonate most with our buyers, that cover the most complicated things that a simple presentation or data sheet can't cover. We want to make sure we start looking at tailored channels, because our technical sales engineers have different needs than our sales reps. We're even talking about potentially giving Showpad access to some of our clients because they've asked for it. So wouldn't it be great if we just ship them a tablet? Here's Showpad, we'll pay for a license, you click on what you want and you just tell us when you find something. Some of our very, very big accounts have asked us for that, so we're exploring that. We're looking to continue to ramp our account planning. So reps now, with all the things they need to sell, they need to build an account plan to talk about all the different domains of security they're going to cover, what sales plays from within Showpad they're going to run, what content they're going to use to get the introduction of the concept, and how they're going to move that opportunity down the funnel. We're looking at Salesforce integration to do more automation, to be able to tie content to opportunities and start tracking ROI. And then using the API, we have a really great BI platform called Domo that gives us visual representation of all our Salesforce opportunities. So we'd love to see that with content in there as well from Showpad. And then start looking at content syndication. How could we host the content in Showpad and potentially make it available in other areas like our executive briefing center? So that's it for my presentation. I've got a few minutes left, so I just wanted to leave it open for questions.